Alrighty guys, welcome back to the Player Zone YouTube channel. And with the Premier League merely days away, I thought, what a great opportunity now to talk about a few players I think will have a breakout year and to keep an eye upon this year. So in this episode, I'll be going through 10 players that you guys at home should be keeping an eye on in the Premier League for this 23 and 24 season. Different sort of players, some young, some we've seen before, some coming back from injuries. So it'll be interesting to see what you guys think of it. Please leave your thoughts in the comments below. Let me know if I've got it wrong or if you back me in on these decisions here. But starting number 10, for me it's going to be Matteo Kovacic. So moving from Chelsea, but a disappointing year last year. He was probably the only real shining light in that midfield last year that really struggled to dictate games at times and control the pace of games. And I guess in the end supply for that forward. I know there was chances created, but it wasn't to the extent that they did many years ago, or maybe a few years ago, 2 years ago, in the Champions League final there when they won, beating Manchester City. So I think a great start, a great move for him, and it'll be a great start to get in the midfield with the likes of De Bruyne and Rodri to see if Kovacic can really express himself. He's in the peak of his powers now, 29 years old. He's a former Real Madrid player, so a player of high quality, and we know that we've seen that in that Champions League run there a few years ago. So it'll be interesting to see how he goes alongside the likes of Rodri, De Bruyne. He'll be playing that, and I'm assuming, a nice role there in central midfield with those guys backing him up on either side. But I love to see how tenacious he is in tackles. Does he have the ability to carry the ball and link the play up well? Because Man City have lost a superstar in Ilkay Gundogan to Barcelona there. So it'll be interesting to see if Matteo Kovacic can live up to that brand and can fill that spot for Manchester City. So as such, I've got Matteo Kovacic in position 10 for players to look out for in season 23-24. All right, coming in at number 9 for me is a different one. It's João Pedro, who's moved from Watford last season, now up to the big leagues with Brighton in the Premier League. A big move for him. I think probably his big career move. Will he make the most of this is really, I think, what I'm asking here. I've always believed in João Pedro, a superstar, I think, in the making, and especially in this Brighton team where he'll get enough service. It's a great opportunity for him to make the most of it. Obviously competing with the likes of Evan Ferguson up there, Danny Welbeck as well. But I think where João Pedro differs is his pace, his versatility across the front line. He can play on the left as well as down the middle. And the 21-year-old, that $34 million move is a big move for him. Obviously from Watford last year, managed 11 goals and 4 assists across 35 appearances. And he played it all over the front three, but predominantly his preferred position is the number 9. He'll be fighting Evan Ferguson, Danny Welbeck for that position this year at Brighton. But he's strong. He had a strong start to the season last year. Got the chance to watch Watford play last year and actually watch him in person. Didn't score when I was there, but I love his movement across that front three. He was versatile. He made curling runs. He's a quick, pacey striker, and he's versatile. When he gets the ball at his feet, he always looks dangerous. He always looks like he can take on defenders and put that ball into the far corner. So he'll get the supply Brighton. Brighton are a high possession team, likes of Enciso behind him. Now we've got the Hood there also at Brighton, so he's got some superstars behind him in midfield. He'll get that supply. It's if he can score the goals, because last time he was in the Premier League with Watford, he struggled with 3 goals and 1 assist in those 28 appearances back in 21-22. So it'll be interesting to see if he can make the most of this opportunity. I have faith in João Pedro. I like him as a player, and I think this year's the year he breaks out. With Brighton's style of play, De Zerbi coaching him, I think he takes his game to the next level, and those 11 goals and 4 assists from last season for the Championship is somewhat replicated, I think, this year in the Premier League. If that comes from the left-hand side, if that comes from the middle, I think it's a big year this year for João Pedro. Next for me in 8th place, and I probably could have put him higher, is Carney Chukwuemeka from Chelsea, the central midfielder. I'm really excited about this kid. He's super exciting. Obviously, the 19-year-old talent. He's from Chelsea. Had a decent opportunity for some game time last season, especially towards the end of the pot of rain and towards the end of the season. They got some good opportunity there. He saw the Premier League pitch 14 times last season, and majority of those times were from off the bench. But I think from that small sort of snippet we saw there was a potential there. Enthusiastic player, one from the youth academy there at Chelsea, and a lot to look forward to. And the Chelsea fans, I think, are really, really excited by this guy and his improvement. And we saw this time in pre-season. He's been included in Pochettino's squad most of the time with the likes of Nkunku, Enzo Fernandez, Conor Gallagher. So he's amongst those starters, and he seems to be amongst Pochettino's plans. So will we see him match week 1? It'll be interesting to see, because Enzo Fernandez is not really that holding midfielder. Neither is Chukwuemeka, but I feel like we can see him naturally progress to that position there, naturally drop a bit deeper in the Chelsea midfield, and the likes of Enzo, Conor Gallagher, and Nkunku could bring the best out of him. His development's been astronomical at the start here. I think we're going to be seeing a big season from him this year. Obviously, he's only 19, he's got heaps of improvement to go, but Poch seems to have him in his plans, and we saw with the likes of Dele Alli at Tottenham there, he can get the best out of these younger players, and I'm hoping he can get the best out of Chukwuemeka this year. I'm really excited to see how he goes. He's been at a strong link up with Nkunku in that pre-season. There seems a bit of chemistry going on there as well, and Chelsea seem to be, hitting the right straps here, and if they can't get another midfielder in the likes of Lavia, I think now it's probably just Liverpool's to get. I think Chukwuemeka's going to be seeing a lot of game time this season. They won't be in Europe, but in a lot of cup competitions, a bit of rotation there at times. I think he could be a big player this season for Chelsea, and they're lacking a lot of midfield depth. He's going to see the pitch a lot of periods of time this season, so I feel like with him there, it's a great chance to develop. I can see him getting a few goals and assists this year, but more importantly, I think being a figure that Chelsea squad, someone who can carry the ball in midfield, who doesn't look phased by the opposition, and he's got that tenacity, he's got that aggression about him, and he's confident, he's a confident player, he's not overwhelmed by anything. We've seen that in pre-season, Chelsea playing some other Premier League teams, he was not overwhelmed at all. He looked like a really very solid player, and I think this year's a big year for Chukwuemeka, and in such, he's 8th for me. And in 7th place for me is Lucas Paqueta, a second season player. Obviously joined West Ham for big money the year before, coming from the Ligue with a bit of reputation for being the number 10, that dynamic type midfielder who can carry the ball, can link the play, he's energetic, he's exciting to watch, but it wasn't quite there for West Ham last season. The season before in the Ligue there, 9 goals and 6 assists across 32 starts there, and from the number 10 role, Paqueta was crucial. He also played the number 6 as well at times, and he earned his big money move clearly for clear reasons there. And I guess another performance that stands out was his high quality performance against West Ham themselves in the Europa League 2021-2022 in that round of 16 tie, where he was massive there for the team and really showed out against West Ham. And as such, he earned that move. He earned that big money move to West Ham, but maybe as a starlight of the pressure of the Premier League. There's a lot of eyes on you, a lot of pressure, especially with a big fee and joining a big club of West Ham. Did they get the better of him last season? I think it might have, because towards the end of last season, he looked very, very solid. But the season as a whole for Paqueta was very underwhelming. He only made 4 goals and 3 assists among the 28 Premier League appearances he made. But I think the back end of the season, we saw that form pick up. He had 2 goals and a goal and an assist, and 2 assists, in the second leg of the Conference League quarter-final tie against Ghent, and that stood out for me. I remember seeing the highlights of that game. I remember seeing how well he looked on the ball, how aggressive he looked on the ball, and that was the Paqueta we expected last season. I had him in my top 5 sort of 10s, those centre attacking midfielders going into last season, but the start of the season was very underwhelming. But towards the back end, we saw the real Lucas Paqueta. We see how well he plays for Brazil. I think he's only going up from here, and look towards the back end of last season as well. He had a great solo run and assist there against Leicester City in the second last game of the season, and that was the Paqueta I expected, and that's the Paqueta I expect to see this season. He's on that steady improvement, got a pre-season under his legs now for West Ham. He's going to need to link up with Thomas Souček. Obviously, Declan Rice is out of the club now. He's out of the picture. Someone needs to step up in that midfield, and at times, I think last season, Thomas Souček was very underwhelming as well. He's an older player though. It shouldn't be on him. It should be on Lucas Paqueta to link that midfield, to form a great partnership with Thomas Souček, like that Declan Rice did with Souček back in that COVID season 21 and 22, and those two together could probably lead the team onwards. And I feel like if he goes back to that League One form, those 9 goals, those 6 assists, that sort of numbers, and continue to improve in the European competitions where he seems to just do so well, I think there's a big season in store for Paqueta. And if West Ham are going to go deep in Europe, if they're going to stay well and truly safe in the Premier League and get themselves out of that relegation battle and scrap that really in last season, it's all going to be on the back of Lucas Paqueta to link that midfield up. It is looking very hollow, very weak and very undermanned right now, but if he lifts his game, West Ham will be very thankful for him, and as such, he'll be up there again with the talks for the top sort of 5 and 6 number 10s in the Premier League. Now we come to number 6, someone who was injured last season and didn't see much game time is Diego Carlos at Aston Villa. I'm very excited their centre-back. When he came and signed last season, I was excited about him as well, but that Achilles injury almost ruined his season. He was out for most of it, and then when he came back towards the back end of the season, the Mings Conza was just impossible to break up, and Emery had to keep them in, so he missed those sort of last 10 games where he was available. But I think this season's big for Diego Carlos here. He's a tenacious type centre-back. He gets big in attack. He's a strong and physical player. You obviously got Pau Torres, who's joined now from Villarreal, an Emery product, an Emery player that he wanted on board, but he takes the left-hand side of that defence now, and we've seen in pre-season that Diego Carlos has been shifted to that right-hand side, and I feel like those two as a duo will complement each other very, very well. Obviously, Carlos not as great with at his feet that Pau Torres is, but we've seen with some teams in the Premier League that not both of them have to be, ball-playing centre-backs. If Pau Torres is that ball-playing centre-back, you can use Carlos, that strength, that the tough nut in that team. He can be that guy that will do the dirty work, will get in and get the tackle in, and break up plays. And I feel like Diego Carlos, there was so much reputation he came from Sevilla, from that the strong European runs he made. He's a quality centre-back. He gets the job done. And I think in this Aston Villa team, they're looking to keep improving. Obviously, European football this season, I think they want to win a cup as well. The team's on the right trajectory. They've got great players around him. He's going to get game time no matter what. They're going to be going deep in competitions. As such, he'll see the football field, and if he can make the most of his opportunities. At the moment, he's on the outer, but transition to that right side of the centre-back position. Obviously, normally a left-sided centre-back in previous teams, but if he can make the most of that, and the pairing with Pau Torres, I think that's a great pairing that can go forward for the future here for Aston Villa. Obviously, 29 years old, Carlos, coming to the peak of his time, his career. I feel like this could be a great opportunity for him to kick on his career, and Villa to set up one of the best centre-back pairings you've got in the Premier League right now. It's really, really looking like a nice Rolls Royce and a tough nut, like we see at Man United, the Rolls Royce Varane. You've got that in Pau Torres, but you need that tough nut, the butcher, like Lisandro Martinez is for Manchester United. Diego Carlos can be that for Aston Villa. I think going forward, this season's a big year for him. Can he make the most of it? Obviously, hopefully he stays clear of injuries and gets a good run at it. But with this pre-season under his belt, I wouldn't be surprised seeing him having a great season alongside Pau Torres for Aston Villa. And as such, he's number 6 on my list. Coming at number 5, it's another new signing into the Premier League this season. Another Aston Villa player as well. It's Moussa Diaby, coming across on Leverkusen. A solid last sort of 2 to 3 seasons there at Leverkusen. He's done very, very well in the Bundesliga. He's just electric. He's an electric winger. He's a direct winger. He gets in, he uses his left foot there, comes off the right, goes onto his left foot. He's a dangerous player. And on the counter-attack, he could be very, very important for Aston Villa this season. But as I said, his game's not just about the counter-attack, not just about his pace. He's electric. He's with the ball at his feet, he is just so good. In and out of players, getting balls in the box. Again, a very direct winger, but great with the ball at his feet, and that's what Villa need. I think Leon Bailey really underwhelmed last season for them, and if you want that attacking output, Villa only managing 51 goals last season in the Premier League, nearing Leicester City for one of the worst sort of goal outputs last season. You've got the man there, Moussa Diaby. He's been in double digit for goals and assists combined in the last few years in the Bundesliga, and it goes to show he's a superb talent, and the Frenchman, coming to a key point in his career here, he could make the big move and make it stick here at Aston Villa. And I think there's a lot of good signs there. We look at his XG and XA combined, so he's expected goals, expected assists last season was 17.3, which ranked 4th in the Bundesliga. Very, very impressive for a Leverkusen side that didn't stand out much last season, so he was providing the goals and assists for that team. And in his 33 games last year for Leverkusen, he got the 9 goals, he got the 9 assists, but he did equally well in Europe. So 3 goals in the Europa League when they didn't quite get it through the group stage there, the Champions League, but importantly 2 more goals in the group stage for the Champions League, where Leverkusen really underwhelmed and underperformed, and it was Diaby there supplying the goals. So he's got goals in him, he's got assists in him, and I think someone who will be smart in this season will be Ollie Watkins, because Diaby's effect will allow him to get more chances, more opportunities, and more shots at goal. Obviously, they need a sharper edge there in the front half of the ground, and I feel like Moussa Diaby provides it for Aston Villa, and I'm really excited to see Aston Villa go this season. Obviously, I said Diego Carlos is my number 6 and number 5 Diaby here. They've got some superstars coming back into the squad. They've got depth all around the field. Great midfielders that will be providing him great balls. The likes of, the Douglas Luiz of the world. Coutinho there's got some depth there as well. It just seems like they're coming together nicely. Jacob Ramsey there as well. There's this really, really strong team building here in Villa. Unai Emery knows what he's doing in the Premier League. He's seen the league before. He's been successful in Europe. They're in an opportunity here to make the most of next season, and I'm very excited to see how they go. Obviously, across the top 5 legs last season, just 5 wingers recorded more carries that ended in shots and assists or a shot created opportunity. That was the likes of Vinicius Juniors of the world, the Kvaratskhelia of the world. So 55 chances created last season for Moussa Diaby from his direct runs. a lot to be excited for Villa fans, and as such, he's number 5 on my list. Now we come to the top 4, and there's some superb talents and some superb younger talents, and that leads me to number 4, Elliot Anderson for me, the Newcastle United sort of prodigy here. That central midfielder, the robust midfielder that we've seen in pre-season. A lot of Newcastle fans are really excited by this player, and I also am as well. Elliot Anderson has shown that he's a kid that has a lot of upside, only 20 years old, a lot to come from Elliot Anderson, but we've seen him pre-season, he's been superb. He's got 3 goals and an assist in those 6 games for Newcastle United, and he's been an awesome, viable midfield option for Eddie Howe to support the likes of Bruno Guimaraes, the Joe Lintons, the Tonali that's recently joined. But I can see him being slowly, blended into these 3 and become that midfield 4, which 1 or 2 rotate here and there. Obviously, Champions League to come this season, Premier League commitments, Cup commitments. I think the Newcastle fans probably won a Cup this year. They want to go on and do one better than last year, losing the Carabao Cup final. So a lot of games there for Newcastle to be playing, and Elliot Anderson is going to get his fair share of opportunities. And we saw a few years ago when he played in League 2 in season 21-22, he managed 7 goals and 6 assists in 21 appearances. So when he gets the chance to be on the field, he'll make the most of it. Obviously struggled last year with not much game time, obviously only getting games off and game time off the bench, only managing the singular assist. But we've seen in pre-season, we've seen the improvement, we've seen the commitment to improve. I've read reports of him coming back the most physically prepared, fit and ready to go. Elliot Anderson is taking this year seriously, and he could take the Premier League by storm. If he has a good start to the season, he could be locked into that midfield 3 along the likes of Bruno Guimaraes and the likes of Tonali, and kicking Joe Linton out that midfield, because this guy's super duper talented. He's tenacious, he's aggressive into tackles, he can ball carry, he's technically gifted, and I feel like the sky's the limit for Elliot Anderson this season. And I can see why Newcastle fans are so excited by this young talent. And he can play as an 8, he can also play forward as a 10 there as well, but he's so physical, he's so tenacious, he's got the all-round game to live up to Premier League standards. And I feel like Newcastle are building a very, very strong midfield trio in there, and Elliot Anderson should be and could be a part of it this season for me, and as such, he's number 4 on my top 10 list of players to look out for. We now come to the top 3, and in the 3rd position for me, it is Darwin Núñez.
Darwin Núñez, he came from Benfica to the Big Red.
Obviously underperformed a little bit last season, despite all the critics and the backlash. I feel like he had a decent season. Obviously, it's very hard to transition from the Premier League, from the Portuguese league. It's a totally different league. The pace, the speed of the game, the physicality all lifts at another level. But Núñez didn't look out of place too much. He got in great positions. He found himself in front of goal a lot of period of time last season, but just couldn't have that finished product. And we've seen in pre-season and the back end last season, Liverpool changing the way they're playing. More time with inverted fullbacks, more time with midfielders who are a bit more progressive. We've seen them sell a lot of their central defensive midfielders and holding players in the likes of McAllister, Szoboszlai. These are the players that were Paqueta, probably the holding midfielder, but they're all quite progressive players. Liverpool will be having the ball in their half of the ground in possession more often than not. I think gone are the days of the bombing fullbacks of Trent and Robbo, but now they'll be more tucked in. There'll be more time in possession of the ball and supplying the likes of Darwin Núñez. I think this can only be a benefit for him. Apparently he's come to pre-season ready and raring and looking fit and ready to go again. And this guy's he's such a confident player, and he's such a focused player. You can see it in his eyes, and the fact that he can get in his position last season is only a good sign. He has the play to get around and get into right spots. You can't teach these sort of things. It comes sort of as the player, comes naturally, that they just know how to do these sort of things, and that makes a proper forward. I think Darwin Núñez is a proper forward. It didn't quite come together for him last season, obviously. The 80 million fee probably weighed down on him a bit there. But obviously the 15 goals, the 4 assists in the 42 appearances last season. But importantly for me, the 4 goals in the 8 Champions League games he played. So he was prolific in the top competition in the world, one of the hardest competitions in the world. So he's prolific when he needs to be, and I think this year he'll up that level and become the more prolific, the more clinical striker that we were expecting last season. Obviously, his pace and his ability to move around players is his strong suit, and if that finished product just comes this year, boy, we could be seeing a great season for Darwin Núñez. His XG last season was 0.676 per 90 minutes, so up there with some of the best in the Premier League. He gets in great positions, but can he convert? Obviously, he's managed 4 goals in his 3 starts during pre-season, so great sign there for Darwin. And he appears like he's playing in the middle, so obviously got pushed out to the left-hand side and played a lot off the bench towards the back end of last season, but Klopp has put faith in him to go down the middle with Salah on the right there, and the likes of Diaz and the likes of Jota down the left. Can he keep this position though? Because it was between him and Gakpo that was playing in the middle last season. I feel like he should start the season down the middle, and I feel like once he starts, he will not be kicked out of that position. I think for me, he's Liverpool's number 9 going forward. He's the guy to lead them to glory this season. I'm really excited for Liverpool's season. I've got them in the top 3, and I think it's all because of Darwin Núñez, and as such, he's my 3rd ranked player to look out for in the 23-24 season. Here we are, the top 2 players to look out for this season, and they're probably 2 players you probably didn't expect. Number 2 for me has got to be Manuel Benson, the Burnley winger. I'm super excited to see how this guy goes in the Premier League last season. I watched a lot of company football last year with Burnley in the Championship and was fortunate enough to see how good this guy was. He was awesome. The 26-year-old winger obviously was from previously played in Belgium and was superb over there, but came to the Championship last year, had 11 goals and 3 assists in his 33 games and was superb for Burnley. Similar to Diaby, a very direct winger, probably not as pacey as Diaby, but direct, get to the byline. You know, he's a guy to dribble in and out of players with 0.91 goals per 90 minutes last season. He's always good for a goal for Burnley and always supplies an attacking option at that front third. And with Burnley playing more possession of the Championship and hopefully transferring that over to the Premier League this season, I would love to see how he goes terrorising the left backs of the Premier League, because this guy is a superb talent. Can he carry it over? That's the question. A lot of people in the past have struggled to carry from the Championship over the Premier League, but look at Mitrovic. He got it right there on his 3rd time around here. With Fulham last season, he proved that it is possible to carry that form over, and I feel like Manuel Benson has the quality to do that. If you look at his game, he's super direct, he's super at defenders, using that left foot there from the right-hand side, he can cut in, but he can also swing in wonderful balls. He's good on both feet. Obviously, the left foot's a weapon, but that right foot is equally as good at times, and he can whip great balls into the box as well. For me, it's his direct, speedy nature that stands out for me. Look at some of the wingers in the Premier League that haven't done as well last season. The Antonys of the world, I think, stand out for me a lot. That struggle because they weren't being direct, they weren't 2-footed, but Benson's got this. He's 2-footed, but he's also very direct. Brennan Johnson's a great example of someone who did very, very well last season. And I see a lot of comparisons here with Manuel Benson. I feel like he'll lift his game this season to the Premier League standards, and I feel like he will be terrorising defences and left backs this season. I'm excited to see when Burnley break on the counter-attack this year, how well he's going and how many goals he can bag for them this year. But I feel like it's a big season for Benson and a big season for people to look at and see this superb talent that Burnley have got in their ranks. And as such, he's at number 2 for me. And with all that being said, we come to position number 1. And number 1 for me, it has to be Nicolas Jackson, the Chelsea striker. Gone are the days of Lukaku, the Giroud, the Kai Havertz, the people who have underwhelmed over the last few years. He's not been given the number 9 curse. He stayed away with that number, and good on him for that, because he has been smashing it in pre-season. In the summer series for Chelsea, he was massive. 2 goals, 3 assists, an average 1.54 goals per game in the 90 minutes in the summer series. He is super prolific. We've seen that in the summer series where he was, shouldering the pressure of leading that front line for Chelsea, and whenever he got in shooting opportunities, he was bagging for Chelsea. He was a super clinical striker, which we haven't seen in the past for Chelsea. We've seen the likes of Kai Havertz, even to a lesser extent, Raheem Sterling last year, and then strikers before that. I think Olivier Giroud probably was their best striker in the last few years, but Chelsea have never really had that guy who's scored consistent goals. Even Romelu Lukaku struggled in recent years. But I feel like what they've missed, they've finally found here Nicolas Jackson. It's a lot to put on a 22-year-old. Obviously, he came from La Liga a few years ago, Villarreal, 12 goals, 4 assists, and 26 La Liga appearances last season. Coming into this season, he's obviously got a goal in him. He's super prolific in front of goal. I love in the preseason that run in behind, take a few touches, and bag it in the far corner. That just shows me the confidence of the kid. As I said, 22 years old, but that connection with Nkunku, I feel like that's the future for Chelsea right there. That front half is the way they're going forward. I hope Nkunku's fit for the start of the season, because I feel like Nicolas Jackson needs him to sort of provide those balls for him, provide him the runs in behind. Again, another pacey forward, a bit different for Chelsea. You've got a pacey forward now that can finish front of goal. This could change their season. I have him in the top 5 this year, Chelsea. I feel they're going to go very, very well under Pochettino. And Pochettino, as I've said before, he nurtures these young talents. He makes the most of these young talents, and he's got a superstar here in Nicolas Jackson. And what a find for Chelsea. Only the 33 million pound transfer. It's not the stupid money that we saw last year with the likes of Mudryk and others like Enzo Fernandez paying over 100 million pounds. This is a more modest amount, less pressure on the kid's shoulders. And so far, he's shouldering the pressure of leading Chelsea's line. I feel like this year, he could be competing up there with one of the best strikers amongst the Premier League big teams. And it's a lot of pressure on the kid, but I feel like he can shoulder it. We've seen it. He's got that ability to finish in front of goal, and I feel like as such, for me, he's a number one player to look out for this year and the 23-24 Premier League season. So that, guys, wraps up my top 10 players to look out for in the 23-24 Premier League season. Obviously, the season is just coming up around the corner. It is super exciting. I love this time of the year when we start a new Premier League season. There's so many storylines, so many players to look out for, and so many, different aspects of the season to be excited about. The start of the season is the best part of the season for me. I'm super excited to see how it all unfolds. I'm super excited to see how these 10 players that I've picked today, how they go in the start of this season. How many of these do I actually get right? How many do I actually go on and have a great season? It's all up to be seen. That's why the start of the season is so super exciting. Guys, if you enjoyed the video, please like the video, subscribe to the Players Zone channel, share with mates. We are so close to 100 subscribers at current point of recording. We are sitting at 99, so a sub will not go unrecognized at all, guys. Truly appreciate you guys watching. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you guys for another football video very, very soon.